And welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Russ Porteous, and I am one of your hosts for this evening's episode of Reality Talks. I am joined by my friend and colleague, Peter Karaglanis. Let's join Peter. Join with me in the show tonight. Francis is an apology, had some personal matters to attend to. Pete, how's your week been?
It's been epic, absolutely epic. Been so much going on. Had an awesome end towards the week. Some amazing business things happening, and definitely looking forward to the block. What a week in the block.
Indeed, indeed. And before we kick things off, let's welcome our guests who are watching this evening. No matter where you're watching from this evening, if you want to make some comments, feel free to add them to the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook. Feel free to add your comments in the chat below. And so, Pete, it was an interesting week. I like a redo room. And I think one couple did it perfectly well, but let's start with house number one. What were your thoughts there?
Well, Kyle and Leslie were redoing their living dining area. So if we remember back, I think it was in the second or third week, the room was only 3x3. Well, that's the size of an average, just small bedroom, which was actually really surprising. They were told about 3 or 4 times during the week by the builders and, of course, the foreman that this was going to be a problem, but they stuck to their guns and it blew up in their face. So they actually had a supporting beam in place, which meant that the room was really contained. If we remember that beautiful dining table they had custom made for them was just so large. Yeah. And so what it meant, there was like less than 20 centimeters from the back of the chair to the wall. The reality is, after a good night's feed at the Karaglanis house, you wouldn't be able to fit in. And I'm sure that pizza oven of yours would have them over the limit as well. So what they did, they took out the supporting beam, they opened the room up, they turned it around a little bit, and I was actually really impressed with what I saw. Not only the colours, but just suddenly there was a sense of space and, luxury. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I thought there was a pretty good redo, actually, that gave it a bit more space, opened it up. I thought that was a good start. What about their bathroom?
Look, their bathroom didn't win tons of love. I'm just, I mean, Darren Palmer, he talks about their selection decisions. So without describing the intricacies of the bathroom, I'm going to actually describe the thought pattern. So, we're week 10 into this. They should have learnt how to plan it better. And so they had issues with orientation around the room.
Yeah.
Just selection of their feature items. And it just, I don't know, it looked all right. And for any other home, you'd say, it was more than all right. But, they keep referring to hitting the $3 million price point. And I've got to tell you, when we do homes, especially luxurious homes, it's those little features that you don't see in your standard bathroom that make all the difference. And so, it's a difference between buying an everyday car and buying a super luxurious marque. And I think that's what was missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think it's going to be a quick one tonight. We might dwell on a couple of houses. House number 2.
Yeah. So we got Leah and Ash. So they did
so
a
close
redo.
yet so far.
So downstairs, if you remember, they had that office that had those really heavy green walls. I can still hear Francis Cosway commenting on how masculine it was.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And she felt that about their bathroom as well. And she felt that it was just a continuation of that bathroom. Now, interestingly, if they didn't convert that office back to a good-sized bedroom, it would have only been a 3-bedroom home. There's absolutely no way you can sell for top dollar with a 3-bedroom home. So what they did was they put new colors in. If you remember in that episode, they had shelving on the wall. They converted that into,
Yeah, that's right, into a cupboard. Yeah,
yeah, like wardrobes. They weren't deep, but they were effective. The one thing
I think was it Shayna said? No, Darren might have said sparse but functional.
yeah, absolutely. Darren Palmer also said he feels vindicated for really pushing the line of
Yeah, he
wanting to
did.
change it.
Yeah,
I think the key thing is Neil Whitaker said it felt cozy. So he was looking to that fireplace. You can imagine, autumns and winters in Melbourne and even early springs like today. Sunday morning, you get up, you got the fire on. My wife and I love a cup of coffee in bed. And for me, that's a really important thing.
can't think of anything worse, mate.
Can't you?
Beds for sleeping, mate. Not drinking and eating.
Oh, mate.
I can't think of anything worse than food crumbs in a bed.
I said
Gross.
drinking coffee.
But anyway,
I don't spill coffee. I have it. We've actually got a coffee machine in our ensuite, so we don't have to go.
You are joking.
No, dead set.
Like just for those that are watching, if you ever follow Pete on social media, you'll see at least once a week he'll do some sort of coffee meme. You've just blown me away. You've got a coffee machine in your ensuite. It's what, a little pod thing or something?
Yeah. It's about that big. It's a really nice looking one. My wife comes back from training at about 6:45 in the morning, and it's ready to go. And she walks into the house, and from downstairs, she's gone, the smell of coffee. So it's a happy
anyway.
marriage,
just to remind people, if you're watching us live stream, tell us what you think. Should you have a coffee machine in your ensuite? And do you drink coffee or eat food in bed? I can't think of anything worse.
Oh, I love it. Bathroom. So they actually did a bathroom. Neil Whitaker was quite shocked at the muted tones within the bathroom of Lee and
I wouldn't have
Ash's.
said shocked. He just observed it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, he actually said his words were, because I actually wrote it verbatim because it was such a strong word for this room. Shana Blaze loves it. She felt that it was elegant. She liked the bath. So for those who may recall, they had a bath and it almost looked like it was corflute around the outside.
Yeah.
But I actually thought it was a really good size. I actually really liked the bath and the tiles that surrounded it. There was a nice little contrast. They were like a grey finger tile or a Kit Kat tile, as Francis would say. And so I actually liked it myself. My wife did Melbourne Run today, or the Melbourne Marathon. I can tell you, if we had that in our ensuite, she'd be in that thing right now with a little bit of Radox sorting out her muscles. Darren Palmer said...
just out of curiosity, which of the runs did she do?
She did the 10K.
Yeah, okay.
She did it. I was pretty impressed. 56 minutes. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. That's very good. That's a good pace. My daughter did it with her work and no training whatsoever. And I think she did it in just a tad over. Did 5Ks in just a tad over 30 minutes, which I was pretty impressed with. And I had two friends who had been training. They just made up their mind. Maureen and Carmen, if they're watching, hi. They made up their mind to do the run at the start of this year. And I kept sending them text messages because they got about the 21.5 kilometre mark. And I know this is just about something completely off topic. And they disappeared. There were no more updates. And I got an update at the end, and the race officials had directed, I would say, literally hundreds of people on the wrong route. It wasn't actually the route.
Crumbs.
And so they were amongst this group of people. There must have been thousands of them. And so it cut 3 kilometres off the length of the race. And my friend Carmen was so upset that she ran around the MCG 3 times just to make the 42.1 kilometres, I think it is, for the marathon, just to make it up. So
she's got some integrity.
Yeah.
She has integrity.
Anyway, so let's keep going with that.
Darren Palmer said, finally, I can't believe it. I actually didn't realize it's the first time they had horizontal towel racks. Now, I don't like vertical ones. I never, ever have. I've been in
No.
tons of bathrooms. People have fit them in, and we tend to, if they're not through the tiles, we tend to pull them out and put horizontal ones. They might be fashionable, but they're like an ashtray and a motorbike. Absolutely useless, and it really limits, the amount of towels you can actually put on there. It's a terrible thing.
The way that the camera angles were done, and I was texting you in the middle of the show. We've got a group chat going on for us that review it, and I thought that the towel rails were slightly offset from each other, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. I like that, but it was just a camera angle, and so when I saw them horizontally and stacked three, I thought, oh, yeah, that's still pretty good. But my wife and I use oversized towels.
Mm-hmm.
And so oversized towels, they're wider and longer, of course. And so you've got to space your towel racks further apart. Otherwise, it is draping over each other. But I did pick up that these were heated towel rails as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they were a nice thing. We do use oversized towels. Ours are almost like beach towels. And so they're actually really, we've got really wide ones, but our towel rails, you could almost put 1.5 on each one. They're just really big and long. Interestingly, they don't suit every bathroom. There's been many bathrooms I go into, and they've got them really, really big, and it just looks dumb. It crowds a wall. So this is where good design work comes in. This is why people like Francis exists in this world, is to take disparate ideas. People see things on social media or in showrooms, and they remember them. They go, oh, we've got to have that. And it's not that their ideas are bad. It's how it all comes together that is a real problem. So in this
Just
situation...
interestingly, sorry, Pete. Interestingly, and I don't think I've said this on our Reality Talks live show at all, but Frances is actually helping prepare our forever home. That's her trademark, is your forever home. And that's the thing that we had a session with Francis during the week. It was just a Zoom call, just checking in, making some observations about some of the cabinetry that we're doing, some design decisions. And I'm not well, this sounds crazy coming from me, but when it comes to interior design, I can't visualize it. I have no skill at that. And I had to ask her at one point, can you see your vision for this? Because I can't see it. And I know she has a sense of style and class. And you and I talked about this on Friday. Having a sense of style and class is really important. And I really have to trust a professional like Francis from White Pebble Interiors on the importance of that stuff, because I just can't see it. So if you asked me to put some towel rails in, I would stuff it. I would have no idea.
So here's a really interesting thing. Even when selling homes, I found that the greatest proportion of guys by a really long shot understood a schematic. And even if they didn't at the beginning, they're looking to go, what's going on here? You spend a couple minutes going into it. It's like, oh, yeah, I got it. However, females preferred renderings or pictures. So in other words, the finished product in picture. And so one of the key things when we're preparing a home for sale, the understanding is 95% of people cannot visualize how a room will look with furniture in it unless it's in there. Now, one of the big design trends at the moment is virtual furniture. So you can see it online, you've got furniture in there. And that's a good addition to the marketplace. It helps people understand when they're viewing online what they're looking at. However, when they go inside, those proportions disappear. And so why, I'll talk about this, especially Neil Whitaker in the last bathroom, why he was sweating on the details about the design features they put in there and the furnishings, is that he understands implicitly what it means if it's not right for someone. And so we like to have it in there. One of the key things we have been working with some agents that have missed it is to get an A3 picture into room. So you walk in almost like on a pedestal where you've actually got this room with the virtual furniture in so people can look at it, and some of them want it on an A4, go, no, we need to go A3 and horizontal so that people can go, oh, okay, now I can see that. And so it's a really important component. In fact, Russ, what you just shared there is probably shared by most of the population. It's that visualization that it's a challenge. And it's just one of those things. So
yeah.
House 3.
Christy and Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What a dismal failure.
Oh.
How they got 6 marks or better is beyond me, right?
Yeah.
So, you know me, I'm interested in the technical elements of the production, and I don't know. Maybe the judges were briefed. Don't give them anything less than 5.
Yeah.
Might hurt them. Honestly, I would have given them nothing because they just didn't finish it. It was a disgrace.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing that caught my attention, and I know I'm hogging the microphone a bit at this point, was Brett cooking at one point, carrying 2 bags, Aldi bags up the street. And somebody said, why are you here? And he said, to have fun. Yeah. Well, clearly you can't have fun if you stuff a room that badly.
Well, he wasn't having fun on Sunday night, was he?
No, that was a disgrace. And then what was their response? It was out of our control.
Yeah, that was actually Christie's response, and he tried to grab it back and say, well, you know, it was sort of our. So one of the key things I found that's really hurt them, and it's probably the one thing that's really irritated me about the show, is the kicking of shins that goes on between contestants. But I feel that Christy in particular, but Christy and Brett kicked it along. They added to it, and so they used so much energy this week trying to call a block meeting so that they could work out the difference between the front and backyard. They were too cute by half. Now, you know, Russ, is that your business runs not only on really good planning and having all your stuff sorted out, but timing is so critical, and it is in my business. And you cannot afford, it's almost like when you're on a train and you hear the tracks going cha-ching, 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 right? When I'm on site, there's a hum and a rhythm to a workplace when all the trades are actually working in sync. There's things happening, and sometimes something as little as going away and having lunch, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but even a simple half-hour break and coming back in, it sometimes just takes time to get that rhythm back. Now, their whole week represented that I'm taking half an hour for lunch. It just threw them out. They used too much creative energy on things that actually didn't count. And I really think the scores they gave them were out of sympathy than anything else, other than, okay, so in their redo bathroom, they put in some towel racks.
You know, if this was the olden days of television and it was, what was the name of that old show? Was it Not New Faces? Was it something like that?
Yeah, definitely New Faces.
Yeah, and they had the bad judge who'd give somebody 2.
Oh, no, that was Red Faces on Hey
No,
Hey
it wasn't
Saturday.
Red Faces. No, it wasn't that. But I can't remember who it was. But you know, if you're a child of the 70s, maybe the early 80s, you would remember this show.
They play New Faces.
Yeah, it might be New Faces, and it like, you know, I think it's a bit like having a participation award. That's what Christy and Brett got tonight, as a participation award. You know, if they should have got a DNF.
Yep.
They should have got a DNF and 0, as far as I'm concerned. And then they still got 10 grand at the end. Frankly, you know, this is a competition where you've got to give your heart and soul.
Merit.
And surely they've been briefed and told, you've got to give 100% here. Now, we know for a fact that there are lots of things that are in their control, and there are some things that are outside, structural things outside their control. We get that, right? But bloody Brett is a tiler. How the hell did he stuff it?
Okay, so the context for their redo room, the main complaint was the arch. And what made the arch awkward, had they not had the shower screen that was so bold and sat below, first thing I noted, the arch would have worked.
Yeah.
My thing would have been not change the arch, change the shower screen. That's all they had to do. But as Scotty said, he goes 3 or 4 hours of work, take out the arch, do a bit of a retile, Bob's your uncle. But instead, Brett went on this thing, let's start pulling out tiles. Now, I've seen tiles come off a wall, especially when it's been waterproofed. And it's a bit like trying to pick a bandage off, especially, you know, we've got guys who've got hairy arms, right? So imagine picking a bandage off. I got them. You know, you pull it off and you're trying not to pull hair out. It's nigh impossible. It's going to come out. And so when you're ripping off those tiles, you're actually taking out the waterproofing. And then it damages. So there's a special.
Just ridiculous.
Blue plaster.
I'm more angry at the fact that they got a score. They should have got a DNF. DNF. Anyway.
Then upstairs, nothing was plumbed.
Yeah, nothing was fitted. Like,
how does that happen?
It was a schmozzle.
Yeah.
Like it just stood out as a stuff up.
Yeah.
Like
it was
just a stuff up. Another
stuff
DNF for me. DNF did not
House
finish.
House 4.
Oh,
Next
yeah. Okay.
lot.
I'm just going to repeat what Marty Fox said a few weeks ago, and then you can respond. This is Marty Fox quote. I've been on the Stefan Gian train this whole time. Oh, look at that. For some reason, I'm a Mac user. The new latest iOS lets me do, or the latest Mac update does that automatically. And so he said, I've been on the Stefan Gian train this whole time. And then he said, when they presented this room, and I agreed with him 100%, that the vanity was on the wrong side, I'm off the train.
Yep.
How do you respond, Pete? They've fixed everything.
Well, his words were, he goes, this is like a quarantine facility. And the other judges going, luxurious quarantine facility, Darren. But that was his take. So if you remember, they had the panels and there was these little gaps. So the other two judges could see that could be altered by fitting very nice little bits of timber within there. And that would have continued with a Japandi theme. However, there's one thing I love about Gian and Steph. They can be exhausted. They can be frustrated at what the judges are saying, but they take on, and I use the term criticism. I don't even like the term criticism. It's correction. And so Gian, like even with the, if you think through the week, the skylights weren't where they were supposed to be. She reacts to it, and then all of a sudden her brain clicks in again. Okay, let's design around this. So they flicked it over. They put the vanity on the other side. They put some other luxe features in there. It was more Japanese feeling, as Gian said, and I agreed with. The vanities were beautiful. The only thing that I think it was Darren Palmer picked, it was Shayna Blaze. It needed some more storage in there. She felt that behind the mirrors, they should have had storage, in particular for toilet paper. But I have to say, and the other key thing was the Venetian plaster. I don't know if you've ever put your hands on Venetian plaster. It is a beautiful thing. And the one thing that we have to appreciate when we do a house for sale, guys are visual. They'll look at stuff and go, oh, yeah, that looks good. Women are super tactile. And I'm telling you, when you touch Venetian plaster, especially if it's done well, it just feels amazing on the fingertips. I just loved that room. I absolutely loved it. And I love it.
I don't know how they didn't get more points and win, frankly, but maybe the judges were feeling generous. Like, there were 2 points difference between that room and the did not finish. Like, boom, mate. It's just silliness. Like,
I honestly think
bonkers.
Yeah, I honestly think, look, I didn't expect them to win, even though I wanted to, only because they've got the Midas touch at the moment. And, and if there was a snail competition as a race, these two would win it. They just have the Midas touch. The other thing that you commented on, this is before we go to the kids' bathroom, was their generosity to Eliza and Liberty through the week. They won 10 grand on that competition where they had to get through that sort of slalom course or whatever it was.
Yep.
Won 10 grand, went into the girls and go, hey, you've had a hard time. Here's 5K. And it wasn't, it was from their heart. You could tell they weren't trying to get kudos or more attention. They had developed a relationship. In my opinion, based upon what I'm seeing here, I'm only seeing them on TV, that they're a couple who would keep the friendship groups tight and be loyal, always loyal to the friends. And I think that's what came out. I just think more than their property being class, I see them as class.
Yeah, 100%. So the kids' bathroom, the Jack and Jill bathroom, my daughter picked it straight away. Yeah, I think Steph and Gian really loved it. Just a reminder, if you're currently watching Pete and I just review the latest episode of The Block, feel free to add comments in either Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Let us know your thoughts and perhaps even where you're viewing from. Back to you, Pete. The Jack and Jill bathroom. The thing that stood out for me was that the grass feature above the bath. I just thought that was just classy, simple and classy.
So it was seagrass, and it was almost like a woven tapestry on the wall. I would have, and this is the key thing with someone who does interior design. So I design homes to sell. This is where someone like Francis Cosway walks in and goes, you know what that wall needs? We need to put grass on the wall that's dried out. And if you try to explain that to me, I would think of weeds in the bin. All right. And this is why you pay the big bucks for a quality interior designer. They understand how to make things work. In a million years, I can honestly tell you, never would have thought about it. If someone described what I saw, I just would have said, you're stupid. It was epic.
Yeah.
Everything about it. They continued on with the Venetian plaster. It had a very calming effect in the room.
It wasn't just kids, though. It could have been kids, teenagers, even an adult's bathroom.
Okay. And that was the thing that I thought was, was they overplayed their hands. And this is the judges talking about kids' room. You know what? Kids aren't going to be 4 foot tall, for the next 15 years. As we know with our own kids, 1 minute they're 4 foot and we're towering over them. And one year later, they've got size 12 shoes and they're a foot taller than us. And it happens that quickly. And you cannot design a bathroom based upon what someone is at one time. It needs to be higher.
I agree.
And
I think Steph and Gian have mastered it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here was the thing. It was Neil Whitaker picked up on it, but it was Shayna Blaze that was complaining about where essentially the hooks were for the towels. But then she goes, oh, look at this. They got it. They opened up the vanity and there was the storage area. But not only that, a little bit higher, you could put other stuff, which was higher than a kid's reach. The kids will not be able to see into those vanities. And so I listened to her criticism and I'm going, so are you doing this to fill time? Because one can't cancel out the other and you have to have consistency. The only thing that could have happened with that, if that was such a major issue, we go back into towel racks again. And that would have solved that. But I feel that room would have been less than.
I honestly can't see how they lost this week. But anyway, over to house number 5.
Oh, love the girls. And in fact, they the commentary that comes with the producers on air, it's very off the cuff, and they play to it, and they're really good. They're great entertainment. As much as I love Gian and Steph for what they bring to the show. They bring debonair class. These girls bring fun, and it's just a lot. So their redo room was the awful studio. it was a shocker. It actually felt like a motel I stayed when I was driving to Sydney last time. It was put in this hotel that was built in the 70s, and it felt like those features. So what they did, if we remember, they had the little TV up on the wall in the corner that didn't work. They had a little kitchenette that was crowded. So what they did is they put a door on it, shut it in. They moved that TV out the way. Now, they had the existing wallpaper that was on, that was done by Graphico. Damien from Graphico, he's a great bloke. They came up with the idea of putting a full-size LED TV on the wall, and what they rung Damien from Graphico, and said, "Hey, can we have a PDF not a PDF document? No, it was a PDF.
I mean, no, you wanted an image of the
wallpaper
background. Yeah.
Yep. And so what he did was he actually matched that bit where it was in. It's in the TV. I actually thought it looked sensational. I thought it was a really good idea.
It didn't show well on TV because it was overexposed, but I think you're right. I think if you were there, it would look pretty smart. I have one of those TVs, and they are pretty amazing. The matte look that they produce is just amazing, really. So
we were lucky. We picked up a nice TV, probably about 6 months ago. Went from a 55-inch to a 65-inch, and people go, "That's only 10 inches." When you're watching it, makes a big difference. But the quality of the LED, especially with the blacks, you're watching a movie, a lot more detail in it. And I know we sound like we're talking about TVs, but here's the key thing. Those TV sets are chattels of the property. And when you're selling property, and I remember this when I first got my agent's license, chattel of the property is a feature. Could be a light, could be oven, whatever it is. In this case, it's the TV. Comes with the property. You've got a good quality TV set. It just means people aren't worrying about what they got, and it's amazing. So love that room.
I can't remember. Are these homes sold furnished?
Yeah, they are.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Now, here's a really interesting thing about the home. So depreciation on a property, typically, mostly these properties have been picked up by investors. So, and some of them have been primary residents. So people have bought them and, they live in them. But largely they've been investors. And so everything gets depreciated. And when it comes fully furnished, all that gets depreciated as well. So at the beginning, that depreciation is really high. So that gap between your taxable rate and what you've got to pay is actually small. Sometimes it doesn't exist. It's a positive cash flow for you. The catch is that when a property is being valued up, they actually don't care what's in it. Furnished doesn't mean anything. And so when lenders are loaning against the property, they don't care if you've got a grand piano in there. It's as if it shouldn't even be there anyway. It makes no difference because it can be taken out any old time. So, they are furnished. Sharing that little bit on depreciation just helps viewers understand the conundrum that exists in this whole show, because I've sold new properties before, and valuing is a really delicate thing, especially on new construction as opposed to existing. It's a lot harder to do. And so there's a lot that goes on in the background. For professionals in the industry, look at it and go, "Oh, how do we do this? There's so many variables." So TVs, Darren Palmer said the money shot. So when you're taking photos of a property, what's the one that stands out? In that room, it'll look to where the swimming pool is going to be outside. Darren Palmer said seeing the back of a lounge suite isn't going to work.
Yep.
So, but they're just styling cues. Things can be moved out. He said, take out that lounge suite for the photos only, because that'll go on the billboard. It can go back in when people, come and see it in person. And that's a really good point. So their bathroom, what are you thinking about their bathroom?
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to ask me this, but if you've ever walked from the end of Elizabeth Street to the Yarra River through Flinders Street Station, there are green tiles. I swear they stole the vanity and the green tiles out of that bloody toilet block down at Flinders Street Station. I hated it, but I don't know what you've got to say because you didn't voice your response in our chat, but I hated it.
Yeah, look, I was amused by that. I actually think the muted tones they talked about work really well. And the reason I actually say that, it allows you to give context and space to the room, but allows you to use different, and the things that mainly colors the room other than tiles is paint. Paint colors can be changed. I feel that will stay in style probably another 5 or 10 years. In variation. So those greens
What
that they
seems
have
to last at Flinders Street Station.
Yeah, since the 1800s. Yeah, look, I didn't find it offensive. If I'm designing that myself, I am thinking about slightly other, there's other thoughts that are going through my mind. I accept that in one way or another, this is going to be a forever home. And you know what? It's not going to offend anyone. It's probably not going to inspire anyone either. But if you walk into that room and it's crisp and it's clean, they did say everything that's been stuck on there was stuck on really well. So the finishing off was actually quite good. That's really, really important. I get to see some really bad workmanship from time to time. And
too. So
yeah, and they seem very settled with the builders they got now. The only thing that amused me was they don't understand millimeters; they want it in centimeters, and so that led to an interesting conversation between the producer and them sitting at the table. I'm not going to go into it, but hey. That was a nice source of amusement. The girls are always going to give us something each week, and this week didn't disappoint. I think they earned their first spot. When I say they earned it, do I think it was the best? I thought Stefan Gian's was better, but the girls, you've got to understand where they're coming from. I honestly think that Scotty saying to them must be 3 or 4 weeks ago, you need to change your builder. And if we remember during the week, it was early on in the week, the boys and the whole team said, we will stay all night until whatever it was they were working at the time was done.
That's right.
Yeah. You know what, not only do they have superior skills, because the other builders actually had really good skills as well, there was no limit placed on what they were prepared to do to make sure that these girls would succeed. And I've seen the girls respond well to it. I believe when I say they deserved the win based on how far they've come themselves. And that's impressive. Which room do I think was the best, or rooms? Stefan Gian, 11 out of 10 times.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't think it was a 30 out of 30, but it was a solid
27 and a half
or 29.
Yeah.
But anyway, nevertheless, Pete, thanks so much for your insight and information this evening. If people are interested in learning about how to present their homes for sale, they should reach out to you. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of your contact details and what you're up to for the week.
So you can contact us on the Dubs, presentinghomeaustralia.com.au. You can find me under Presenting Homes Australia through all social media and on Facebook under my own name as well. This week is an amazing week. So we start out in Bundoora first thing tomorrow morning. We're looking at a house there, and then we're into West Footscray. This is a really interesting one. So
not the eastern suburbs, mate.
No, not the eastern suburbs. This is a really extremely well-known agent that I know really well. He's unbelievably respected all around Australia. And we did a podcast last Sunday. And one of the things we talked about was not only restoration work, but decontamination. And they've moved into a new older home. And he goes, mate, it stinks. He goes, it smelled old and musky. So I'm going to see him. We might bring in our building hygienist. Other than that, all week we're in the eastern suburbs. We're finishing off a property in Mooroolbark that is amazing. Amazing. huge.
Yeah.
We're excited, and then we're off to Warburton to sort out some issues with the most amazing Airbnb. Talk about a vista. You look at the hills, you can see the Yarra Valley. We're up on Mount Donnabuang. I don't know if anyone's been out that way before, but it is eye-achingly beautiful. So that's the week ahead.
Yeah. You and I spent some time together on Friday, and that little joke about the eastern suburbs was something from our discussions on Friday. So I should update your lower thirds here with the work that we did together. So yeah, if you're interested in reaching out to Peter, check him out at presentinghamesaustralia.com.au, or you could hit him up via Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You're just about everywhere, I think.
On all the main ones.
Yeah, are there main
really
ones?
Good one. Interestingly, for those who don't have TikTok, I was like, it's a kids one. I'll tell you, it's come of age.
Neat.
The narratives. So I see a lot of
my team do. I don't.
Yeah, a lot of professionals on there, a lot of trades. The quality of the content being shown. So they use a lot of pictures. But one thing that I found more than any other one is the trades are narrating the work they're doing. So they're just filming, and then they take it back. And when they in post edit, they narrate what's going on. Tell you what, if you want some really good education, there's a guy I follow on there that installs new windows and doors and all of that. He does some amazing work. But the really thing I find interesting, not only is how they actually do the work, but explaining their purposes, and before they finish, why they're doing it. And you get the after shots. Amazing. And there's
if you'd be kind enough, maybe pop a link to that in the chat later. That'd be great.
Yep.
Well, from me, I'm planning on working in Western Victoria for the rest of the week. I can't say what I'm working on.
So not the east?
Private. Sorry?
Not the east?
No, not the east.
Or the southeast?
No, Western Victoria, working on a important public utility. And for those that don't know, I own a number of different businesses and ventures. And this week I'll be working in our fire safety company called Firewise. But Friday is a pretty jam-packed day as well, working in our production company, helping business owners to help market themselves and their businesses, which is what you and I did on Friday, Pete.
It was awesome.
Sorry?
I said it was awesome.
Yeah. But everybody that comes in our door for our studio services always says the same thing. They all have aha moments about their businesses. So if you're looking for some advice about, if you're a business owner and you're looking for advice on how to position yourself as the leader and authority in your industry, feel free to hit me up. My name's Russ Porteous. I am available on Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, and you can find me there. So anyway, Pete, another great session with you this week. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.
Take care.